And I think we'll have a wonderful conversation that'll really benefit the listeners that I have on the show. So wonderful. Yeah. So to start, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and share what inspired you to focus on becoming a C-suite executive, mentor, and leader so that you could build the impressive career that you have today?
Well, it wasn't the career path, Jackie, that I had planned as a child. So my goal was to be a lawyer. From the time I was maybe like 10, 11 years old, that's what I thought I was going to do. Although jokingly, I think it's because my mom made me watch too much LA Law with her. At that
Yeah.
I'm older than you, I suspect, so you might not even know what that series was.
I remember it.
Yeah.
I actually watched it as well, and I wanted to become a lawyer when I was a kid too. So that's
So,
funny.
yeah, so it's funny. So that was the path for me, I thought. And so I started working, by the way, at age 11. I'm sure child labor laws would prevent that now.
Right.
My first leadership role came at 14. I was the assistant manager of the shoe store I worked at while I was in high school. And then when I went off to university you have to get an undergrad before going to law school. I worked in a bank in their contact center, flexible to work around my work schedule or my school schedule. I was also doing some acting on the side. So it was great, the flexibility that came with it. But I got promoted very quickly in that environment as well. And so by the time I was nearing the end of my undergrad, I got an opportunity to go cross country for a month assignment during the summer. And then that ended up leading to a job offer for a more senior role. And so what I thought was going to be 1 year off from law school, that's what I decided. I grew up in Canada. In Western Canada, I got relocated to the big city of Toronto. And so I thought, oh, okay, well, I'll take a year off before I go to law school. And if I like Toronto, I'll switch schools. And what I will tell you is I did none of what was planned after that. I ended up loving the corporate world. I was again in a leadership position. That's one thing that's I've just always really enjoyed is coaching and leading people. And so 30 years later, I've stayed in the corporate world. I got recruited out of banking after, being in it for a number of years to my first executive role at age 24. I was like so young. I became the chief operating officer and general manager for an outsourced contact center organization. And then that began my foray into the world of professional services, which added just this other level of complexity in the corporate world that I loved. So that's where I've now subsequently stayed the last 25 years, where I now currently work at a technology company called Kyndryl that spun out from IBM a few years ago. And I like to describe myself as sitting at the intersection between the business and technology transformation with things like leadership, culture, ways of working. In fact, I lead almost all the non-technical parts of our business around how do you realize the value from these kinds of transformation, everything from project management to culture and change management to the workforce transformation and the reskilling of the workforce, as well
Right.
as some of the business process side of things. So that's where I sit today.
Wow, that's great. Sounds like you and I have a lot in common because I've been in the corporate world myself for a long time, and even though I'm in higher education now, I still see that there's still that piece of the corporate that's in education, right? Because at the end of the day, an institution has to run a business. Even though they're a school and they're an institution, they still have to have a budget. They have to have a board of directors, right? So there's elements of that of the corporate world in education. So it's very interesting how I seem to be doing both because I work for an education services company and that's a corporation, and then I provide the curriculum services. So it's interesting how I'm kind of in that way too, at the intersection of that and the technology that we're incorporating into the classes. It's amazing. So that's great. I love that. It's amazing how you can kind of see those intersections, right, occurring. And sometimes we don't realize it until we talk about it and go, oh, yeah, I see that. That's really neat. Wow, that's great. And so it sounds like you've been able to learn a lot of that along the way, and what you thought what direction you were going to go, and you're like, nope, I ended up pivoting, going somewhere else. So that's great. Sometimes we just have to be open to that, right? And know that we have to be willing to pivot and change when things come along our way, and just take up the offer, right? And learn it as we go. So that's great. Yeah.